Today I want to talk about your emotions. I told you the other time that today we're going to talk about your emotions. So when we talk about your emotions, we are talking about your soul, not your spirit, your soul. So, and I said that we have about 200 emotions. Okay, some of them has no name, but you sometimes you feel like you feel something, but you don't know what it's called. It is also an emotion which has no name. So I'll give you some few emotions that I have, written here. Do you know that to be fearful when you are afraid is an emotion? It's because that fear expresses itself. Sadness is an emotion. When you are happy, it's an emotion. When you are lacking something, it's an emotion. If something is disgusting you, it's an emotion. If you dislike something, I dislike this kind of behavior, it's an emotion. I hate you, something like that, it's an emotion. When you love somebody, it's an emotion. When you have pain in your body, it's an emotion. Anxiety is an emotion. Patience is also an emotion. When you are worried, it's an emotion. When you have peace in you, it's an emotion. When you have unforgiveness in you, it's an emotion. When you escape, not the word like to escape from a situation is also an emotion because you see it, you express it. Yeah. When you are confused, it's an emotion. When you are sufficient with what you have or with God, it's an emotion. When you are satisfied, it's an emotion. When when you feel accepted or an acceptance within a group or somebody accepts you, that kind of feeling, it's also an emotion. When you feel rejection, it's an emotion. So you see, and when you feel some sort of like belonging to God or like you belong to a group of people, you feel an emotion. So you realize that we have a lot of emotions, but sometimes we don't know how to explain that. So I'm saying all these things are within your soul, within your soul. So your soul expresses that emotion, can come through anger, it can come through anything that comes out is an emotion. So that is what the enemy can use. This is also part of the things that God uses. Just like Kuba said that he felt something like worried or something like, sadness in him. His emotions were triggered. An emotion called sadness was triggered inside him. Okay. And for me, this is the same thing. An emotion called sadness triggered inside me. But what do I do? That thing is a communication. God is speaking to you about something. So that is why I keep on telling you, keep checking around you, within you. Any change that you feel, be quick to analyze it. What does it mean? And don't forget this. What does it mean? Who is this? How do I? The moment you get that information from that, the first word that comes in your spirit, that is what God is saying. God can tell you, maybe it can come in the form of maybe a picture or a name. The person does not need to be closer to you. Okay. The person can be in a different country, maybe it can be your friend or relatives that you know. The moment you feel an emotion and you ask a question, a thought, that first thought that comes in your mind, God is speaking. So now, when you feel that thing, you focus now your attention on the thought or the image or the name that you heard and start declaring something. That is what I normally do. So sometimes when I feel like worry, all of a sudden I feel some sort of panic and I check within me, there's nobody around me. And so I check that what could I be? Then I stop everything that I'm doing and I concentrate on that thing, on that emotion. It could be sadness, worry, or maybe all of a sudden a thought comes to my mind about the past. And then maybe it's in the form of a regret. So if I feel and I think, why am I feeling this? Why now am I feeling this kind of thing? Maybe a thought will come to my mind about maybe something that happened 2 years ago, which I have not let go. In other words, an emotion called unforgiveness has been triggered. And so when I check and I say, what is this? And then that thought comes to my mind and reminds me of the past that I have not let go. Now I have to declare and just release that and let it go. because God is telling you that maybe I'm taking you to a different dimension, but there is an unforgiveness of the past. You never dealt with that. So it came to you, you feel maybe anxiety, and you don't know what to do. So when you focus on yourself, Father, what is this? And then the first thought, maybe there's an unforgiveness in me. Okay, then I have, what do I do? Father, thank you for showing me. Now I release this right now out of my way. When you do that, that thing leaves you. That kind of burden leaves you. I hope I'm making myself clear. So all these things are emotion. Sometimes so you can think of the past. Maybe you had your best experience, and then all of a sudden it triggers you. Sometimes it can trigger you in this way. Maybe you experienced something in the past and it was so good, and then maybe this year you're not experiencing something good, and an emotion of the past can trigger, because you want to go back to the past to experience the same thing in this present time. So that would trigger you, and then you think like, I wish I'm experiencing this again. It doesn't mean that you should go back and do that. God is telling you that it is in the past. You can still do better than what you are doing now. So some emotions, if you're not careful and then you focus on the past experience, that emotion called maybe unforgiveness, anxiety or something like that, can pull you back to the past, even though you are still living in your present towards the future. So you have to also check to balance your emotion. It can also be that sometimes a friend that you lost or a family member you lost so many years ago. Let me give you this. This has happened to me before. I remember when I think I was at 10 years. I lost my younger brother, but then he was 6 years. So there was this particular song that he likes. Anytime I hear that song, an emotion called sadness triggers inside me, and then it pulls me back to when I, like, maybe 30 years ago or 30 something years ago. It pulls me back there, and I'm crying, even though now I'm in the present at that time, but I still can cry. Why? And a part of me has been pulled to the past. And if you're not careful, because there are a lot of people, the reason why I'm teaching you this emotion is that there are a lot of people who are living in this present, but their past has been pulled to the past. So like I said, that emotion, we have about 200 emotions, but one tiny emotion causes anxiety or sadness can pull the whole part of the 199 emotions to your past, and you can relive in the past even though you are living in the present. So you need to know how to balance all these emotions so that it doesn't get control of your life. And I will show you how to control all those emotions. They are very, very important. You see, people can be here and then their past experience, they're thinking about their past pain, their past the past loss, everything. Why? It is like I believe you all know this octopus, this kind of eight arm, like that kind of fish. Let's use that as an example. Like it has like maybe 200 emotions. Okay, so when you have that emotion, I need to get I need to make an illustration because I think it's very, very important. I like to do an illustration so that everyone can get what I'm saying. For me, that thing, because that our emotion is what controls us a lot. Okay, so let me just pull some. I'm just making some. Okay, so let's take this thing. See, I've tried to make them. Okay, let's say that this whole thing is your soul, and you have a lot of emotions. You see, that's a lot of emotions in your soul. Okay, so maybe this one is called sadness, this one is called patience, this one is called hate, this one is called pain, this one is called love, and all that. So now you are living in your present, but and some of these things are from your past. So let's say that you like, for instance, I lost my brother like maybe 30 years ago. I'm here now. But the moment I think about something pulls me, It means that my spirit is telling me that you are thinking about something in the past, which you are not, if you're not careful, it will control the whole of this, your soul, and then it will pull you. This tiny thing can pull the whole you to the past. Even though you are in your present, this tiny thing called worry or pain or anxiety or unforgiveness, it can pull the whole of your 200 emotions to the past. Because if you allow just this one to take control over all your emotions, then this will take the whole part of you. That is why when somebody is depressed, when you check in the in the person's life, you can see that sometimes, for instance, it happens here a lot. Sometimes maybe the person has been trusted a person, and then the person sort of left. Maybe the man left the woman, for instance, and the woman was so depressed. Why? Because there is one emotion called depression or pain has taken control over her life, and then it took all the 99, because that can, you see, one emotion. Just imagine, even when you are sad, you can see how your face shows. It shows the whole part of your body. Why? Just one tiny thing. So you can see that when a person is depressed or a person is angry or sad, you realize that it affects the whole part of the body. Why? Because that thing has controlled the whole part of the emotions in the person. So it is pulling the person to the past. And if that is not dealt with, you will stay there forever. I know some people, they were so close to one of their family members. They lost the family member, and then anytime they think about it, they cannot move on. They are so stuck in the past. There's nothing you can tell them that they will understand. One of their emotions called sadness or loss has been triggered, and that part of loss has been stronger than the other emotions, and so it has put the whole part of them to the whole part of the person's emotion to the past. So you can see that all the time the person is moody, the person is sad, the person is crying. Why? They cannot control their emotions. It is the same thing when you come to this psychological world, where you see this psychologists working on people. They can only help to tell the person what they can do, but to go deep into the roots, that is what God can do. So make sure that you don't mix other emotions. So what you do if you experience such emotions? For instance, there was this, when I was a child, I was like 15 years, I lost a friend. So a friend that I lost, what happened was that sometimes I used to think about her, I used to dream about her. And then the Lord was telling me that you got nothing to do with the dead. Okay. So try and move on. So there is a situation whereby if I was not careful, I'll be thinking about the past, yes, and then the past will be controlling my life. So you have to also be aware of what you have lost, what you are worried about, unforgiveness, anything that you think is weighing you down. Try and shift your mind quickly. So the Bible says that we move forward, not backward. If you go back, you get stuck in those situations. So what do? Now, I am not saying that whatever you lost or whatever you've gone through, it is easy to let go. It is not easy to let go. But there are some things that you can do to control that. So, for instance, I'm going to use myself again. Like I told you, I lost my brother. You can go through so many things, pain, anything. Somebody might have hurt you. Somebody might have said something bad about you. You are still keeping it inside of you, and all sort of things, because we go through different things or one way or the other. Okay. So when I lost my brother about 30 something years ago, and sometimes I think about him, and then sometimes I feel that, and then before I used to cry, but I try to move on, and it comes again. So when that thing keeps on coming, what do? You don't stay there, okay? You pull that thing with you. Okay, so that is, for example, an emotion called loss. I have like 199, 200 emotions here, but there's only one emotion called loss because I lost my brother. Okay, but then I'm left with 199, which is bigger and stronger than just one little emotion called loss. So this always pull me back to the past. It takes the whole 199 because I choose to focus on this instead of focusing on the things that God is telling me so that I can see my future. I can focus on that. I'm focusing on just one thing that I cannot bring it back, and and that is always pulling me back. So now that, thank God, I have been able to mature from that pain. I for this thing is, it cannot go away. That's why God gave us the spirit of remembrance. It cannot go away. It will be with us. But then you grow over that. Yeah. So anytime I listen to maybe some part of song or any song that has this kind of notes in it, and it reminds me and it tries to remind me, now it is my choice, because this is now, it's like a strange, it's just like it wants to pull you back to stay there at the age of 10 years when you lost your brother. Then you can stay there and start to keep on mourning over your brother. Yeah. So what I do is that anytime that thought comes to my mind and I'm in this present, I try to shift my mind by pulling that thought to my present life. So I try to limit this so that I can hide this one, and then I can focus on what God, the Lord is saying. Then I can move on with the other emotions which are more beneficial to me. This is your choice. It will never go away. We've gone through so many things in lives, but remember, it can never be erased. But you have to, master it. You have to create a way to master that kind of emotion so that this cannot control you, but you should rather control it by pulling it behind you and focusing on the good things of God, the protection of God, while He's taking you, your ministry, your children, your family, your job, your destiny. So when it comes again, you know how to control that. That is what I did, and that is what I need. You all can do. So I focus a lot of time with spiritual things when it comes to emotions, because I am very, very careful with emotions, because now when I'm talking to somebody, I try to think about where that person is speaking from. So if you can control your emotions, you can control everything. So you align yourself. Now you know yourself, you know what you are doing. Somebody is speaking to you from a different angle. The person might be negative, but you have to control yourself. You cannot stop the person to talk to you anyhow. You cannot stop the person's emotions, but you can control your emotions so that you are not affected by the person's emotions, because some emotions can be very, very negative. If you're not a strong person, it can control you. So this is what I wanted to teach you about emotion. You pull that thing with you to your present life, and then you made that kind of past experience submit. How do you make it submit? I'm repeating that again. By focusing on the future. It comes to you, it's clear, it comes to me. Yes, even if I'm talking to you, I can remember that, but I don't dwell on that. I do something which is meaningful. I do something which is very productive. The more you do that, now you are now suppressing that which used to control you. So in this way, you can also control a controlling person, because there are some people who can control you by their manipulating you. So if you don't want to fall into that, you can also control them by controlling your emotions. I hope I'm making myself clear here.